Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another broadcast of The Lawrence Report. On tonight's broadcast, we will be discussing episode 7 of Found, Missing, Wow, Indigenous. Now, I just want to say, I'm so happy that this actor strike, this writer strike is finally over. Now the cast can finally promote their show. I'm talking about going on the morning talk show circuits, doing radio interviews, whatever you want to call it, all things related to media. I saw this picture of Shanola Hampton just smiling, joyful, finally being able to celebrate her show. So shout out to all the cast members, the crew, the directors, the producers. I'm happy for y'all. I love the show right here. And now let's get on to episode 7 of Found. So like I said, it's called Missing While Indigenous. So we meet, well, let me put it like this right here. In the very opening of the scene, we see Gabby and Trent, Officer Trent. They're dealing with the ramifications of the missing desk drive, the missing drive that Gabby took. And Trent is now basically suspended and potentially maybe about to get fired. So while they're on the couch just chatting, Gabby asked Officer Trent, like, what are you gonna do in your downtime? Like, what is something that you always wanted to be, basically, right? And she's joking with him about him potentially now being a exotic dancer, knowing that he really doesn't have a job. So she asked him, he asked her, what is something that you always liked growing up? And she zones out. She mentions that she's always enjoyed these birds called starlings. So her and Sir are in a flashback, and they talk about going outside. She asks Sir, I'd love to see these birds up close. Is it possible that we can go outside? And she's smiling ear to ear, like she's just about to play him for a fiddle. And at first he thinks about it. He's like, okay. So they walk outside. Again, she's smiling ear to ear. But all of a sudden her smile goes into a mean look of disgust. So she kicks Sir and she tries to run away. And from there, we are immediately thrust back into the present reality. Gabby and her team, they are met by a Native American grandmother actually, who is looking for her granddaughter. The granddaughter is named Danae. She's actually pregnant, and she's a school teacher. And it's been word on the street that maybe her and her boyfriend may have had some issues there, with her while she's being pregnant. But at the same time, we see in this episode that Danae is caught in between two worlds. She is from a indigenous background, so they kind of want her to have her baby on their grounds instead of having the baby in a traditional American hospital. So there's some kind of hostility right there between her people and also how she's thinking about trying to deliver this baby into this new other American world. So basically the family is part of this reservation that's actually in Virginia. So the grandmother and another family member, they come to Gabby asking for help, and Gabby's like, who do you think would possibly make it get to a point where your granddaughter would just disappear out of thin blue air like this right here? And she mentions the boyfriend. And in this situation right here, Zeke ends up getting an alert that the boyfriend was actually just admitted to the hospital. Looks like he might have gotten into like some type of bad accident. So the team rushes to the hospital basically to investigate and ask this guy a couple of questions about when's the last time you've seen Danae. We also meet another prime suspect by the name of Dr. Potter. It is believed that, Dr. Potter and Danae kind of have like, a closer relationship. He's a doctor, so he looks after many different patients, right? He says, I would never do anything to, hurt her. We had our disagreements, but, I wouldn't do something of that nature right there. So Gabby, she's like, well, I get officer training here and, you know, we'll dig even further. But it's just one little problem. You see, Gabby, because of you, unfortunately, Officer Trent basically lost his badge. So he has to find another way to try to, help the team assemble and basically help rescue this pregnant woman. Because we also find out that the baby is breached. So now it's even more of a rush now to go ahead and try to rescue this. She decides to, try to talk to Sir about the case. And Sir, in the previous episode, we see that Officer Trent did come to Gabby's spot, and apparently he had on some heavy boots. So Sir referred to Trent as heavy boots, and he asked her, who's that man? I see he made you smile. Did you sleep with him? Okay, okay, sir. You doing a lot right now, man. You're doing a lot right now, man. Cool your jets, brother. So the team, they try to investigate the boyfriend one more time. And unfortunately, all the leads are basically dried up. And I can't remember if I said this or not in the beginning stages of the video, but this indigenous family is from reservation in Virginia. So Gabby's like, hey, everything's dried up. We're gonna have to go to where Danae and her people are from, which is in Virginia. So they break the news to Lacey, and immediately Lacey is triggered by this because evidently that is the same place where Gabby and Lacey were both once held captive, in their younger lives. Gabby and the team, along with Lacey, and Trent and Don, they travel to Virginia. And it's nighttime, and they're doing some investigating, and they see Danae's car. Her car kind of has some blood on the seat. And at the same time, while they're there, they are met with Danae's brother. His name is Kai. He's kind of like a sheriff, I guess you can say, of the reservation that the Native Americans are staying on. He asks a bunch of questions. I think he has a gun pointed at them. He's like, hey, who are you? What are you doing here? And Gabby's like, hey, we was hired by the grandmother here. We was hired by the grandmother to come, check this place out so we can, try to find Danae. I really didn't like the brother. This guy Kai. Again, he seems like he is the big chief of the reservation. I really didn't like his attitude, period. Knowing that, a loved one is missing. So, they pretty much, have a search party looking for Danae. And Officer Trent is talking to the grandmother. And, he's getting some background information. And again, here comes Kai, right? Angry Kai, right? He comes up here and, he's basically blaming the sister, Danae. He's basically blaming this on her. He's like, if she wouldn't have married, not married, but if she wouldn't have, went away with that white boy, she wouldn't have been in this situation. So basically, he is against interracial dating, and he's putting his own sister at fault. And we also meet this woman right here, as Lacey and Gabby are walking through, looks like a neighborhood. She basically has some, very important information. She says that, well, I doubt Danae will want to come back because the way Kai treated her, Kai was, extremely upset that she would rather, again, they said in the story, well, on the show that Danae basically again chose this white boy over her own people, and that's something that Kai, you know, he doesn't like. Not to mention, his wife is named Ada. We find out that she is actually a midwife, and at the same time, Zeke gets a call to Gabby or a text or whatever. He's like, "Hey, I have some video footage I need you to see. I think this is the last person who was happens to be Ada. It was Ada who happens to be the last person that was seen at a gas station with Danae." And so the team ends up getting Ada's address, and I should say this right here. How could I forget this? Um, while Zeke is sending over information, Gabby also decides to, you know, basically take a look at what Sir is doing. So she goes on camera and see what he's doing, and unfortunately, this guy right here, he holds up a lunch tray to the camera, and he basically tosses his lunch tray into the camera, and the camera is like destroyed. And of course, Gabby is literally shaken, and Lady C notices it, and she's like, "Are you okay?" He's like, "Yeah, fine, fine, fine." So, Sir, ooh, we'll talk about Sir at the end. But anyway, so you get an address to where they believe Ada is staying. And, for Lacey, this is extremely triggering. She just wants to get off the Virginia grounds, period. Like, she wants to get this thing over with and leaves. They get an address, and she goes into this house where they think Ada is staying. And she barges in. She's like, "Did you kill the baby?" And she goes into another room where an older woman, it looks like she is slowly transitioning, like she's about to pass. And so Lacey basically ends up disturbing a Indian ritual. Again, I said Lacey was triggered, so this causes her to panic in the worst way. And of course, Kai, when he gets this information, he's pissed off. He wants them off the land immediately. But the grandmother says, "Hold on, you're not the boss here." Shout out to the grandma. She says, "I'm running the show here." So Gabby, she starts to get, she starts thinking, right? And she goes into this wooded area of this house, whatever, and she basically has a flashback. Um, and in this flashback, we see young Gabby saying, "Don't give up, don't give up." Basically, reiterating that you are going to escape one day. You're going to overcome what you're facing right now. And Sir says, "You know why I chose this place right here?" He's talking about them, being in Virginia, because this is a place where the police won't look. The police will not come here. This is a place that's basically overlooked, and that this is the space in which no one in between will find you. And that right there is an automatic key for Gabby to realize where Danae may end up being. So Gabby and Don, they are, basically thinking about, well, I guess you can say Gabby. She now has a key, and she's looking in a space in the woods where most people wouldn't look, and she ends up seeing some blood there, and we end up seeing Danae there. But unfortunately, as I said earlier, she was pregnant, but the baby was delivered out in the woods. So, with that right there, Margaret decides to go to Dr. Potter, Dr. Potter's house, and, you know, she's like, "Well, we need you to, assist us, help deliver this baby, whatever the case may be." And she pretends that, well, she actually uses her Margaret vision. She sees like this nursery rhyme music to the left, and she sees these dirty boots. and she asked him, can I, can I get some water? And she steps into the home, and she starts looking around, and she hears a baby crying. The baby turns out to be Danae's baby. Of course, earlier I stated that it was a mind battle for Danae to figure out if I want to have this baby on the reservation or have it in a DC hospital, right? And Dr. Potter gives this sad story, blah blah blah, and then that's when the team, because I really wasn't trying to hear his sad story, which I completely understand what he's going through, but I just can't believe he would do something so heinous like that. But anyway, besides that, the team, the police or whatever, they decide to come in, they bust him. He gets arrested, thrown into jail. The baby is back with Danae and her family, and while she's with her family, she's like, I would never deny my child their Native American heritage, even though I did have a baby by someone outside my race. I still want my child to know about the ancestors, about their history. So one cool thing that I did like, Officer Trent and Kai, end up shaking hands, which they have some beef themselves, and their beef got squashed, and maybe Kai's going to turn over a new leaf. But as they're getting ready to leave the hospital, Zeke ends up getting like an alert. The alert is about Sir. Now, as we know, Sir has been locked up for quite some time. And I said earlier that Sir he ended up throwing his lunch to this camera. And the alert is saying that Sir has been spotted near Gabby's house. So at the same time, there's Trent and Lacey is completely shook, which she has the right to be. I would be too. And so is Gabby. Because now everybody's thinking, well, not everybody, but I should say, Gabby in her mind is thinking, did Sir escape? So we are left with a crucial cliffhanger for next week. And next week, it's about to go down. If you're watching this right here, please let me know in the comments about your favorite episode thus far or found. And as always, please don't forget to subscribe, to like, share, comment as well. And as always, thank you for tuning into The Lawrence Report.